Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another installment of Flyer Gonna Flyer, our 67th episode. We got a good one for you this week, as per always. We're going to be talking about last week's games. One good game, one kind of collapsed game, and one horror show. We're going to go a little more in depth with the game against the Ducks and the suddenly ensuing rivalry that the Flyers and Ducks are really starting to create, and our thoughts just in general about how we feel about that. Christian Dvorak signed an extension this week, and we have some thoughts, more negative than positive. We'll go into that a little more deeply as well. And Flyers started racking up a couple injuries this week. Not a good thing. We'll see who can step up during the players' absence just in general. And then, as always, we will end the week with next week's upcoming games. Joining me, as always, is one of my two gracious co-hosts. You know him, you love him, Mr. Eric Martino. Eric, how you doing today, bud?
Oh, man, I'm doing pretty good. It was a decent week of hockey. I'm just going to say, put it that way, decent week of hockey. If y'all notice, I got my new background. Changed it up a little bit. Got my Flyer sign there. Got my Eric Lindros poster there. My little Flyers luchador mask. Yeah. And my little Bonhams, my Flyer Bonhams are gone, but if you see, these are Ninja Turtles. So that's cool.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Flyers, as we should call them.
Oh, if there was some kind of crossover. Oh man, just take my money. Just take it.
Take my money on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Flyers. We got to think of the 4 foot. They all gonna be brawlers. So if you're gonna do it that way, got to be like Wayne Simmons, Garnett Hathaway, Jody Shelley.
Oh yeah,
and
Riley Cote. Let's go, Riley Cote.
Riley Cote. There we go. There's your 4 Teenage Mutant Ninja Flyers.
Oh, that would actually
be all right. Fuck it. We're investing in it. Shut up and take my money. Take all of it. All right. So let's go. FYI, everyone, as per normal, Jamey will be joining us mid-episode. He's running a little late, but he will be joining us at some point from what he's told me earlier this morning. So when he comes in, we'll be bringing him into the room as well. But let's go over last week's games. One in 1 week. Let me leave this week off. So this was kind of a up and down week. Started with absolute chaos. And honestly, in a weird way, I'd say the week slowly trended down. Started great and went the wrong direction. Ducks game. Oh my God, that was the funnest game of the year. That was complete anarchy. Hence why the name of this episode will be called Philly Fight Club, because that game, you thought last year's game was crazy and fun. This year's took it to a brand new decimal point because it was completely chaotic. Flyers won the game 5-2, but the stuff from this game particularly remind me of shit they used to have back in the 2010s with the Pittsburgh Penguins, especially in 2012. The absolute bloodlust these two teams had for each other is crazy. And of course, it starts off with a Cutter Gauthier goal as the fans yet again remind him how much they just love him leaving the team on red and just dipping out to Anaheim. And, well, not dipping, but being traded to Anaheim after his refusal to play here and getting booed every single fucking time he touches that puck. As stated, though, Flyers go down 1-0, but they respond pretty quickly. I will say, bad things about this game. Bobby Brink went down in the first. Very dangerous hit on Jamey Drysdale in the second. We'll get into that when we kind of fully concentrate on this particular game. But what I loved from the Flyers in this game is their response. They were rocking from the moment the puck dropped. These guys always seem like they can get up for a game against the Ducks because they still have the same exact animosity that we as fans have for Cutter Gauthier for the way he left this team pretty much. And you could see it. Couturier was giving him chops all game. Konechny was constantly chirping him. Garnett Hathaway, without a doubt, had his best game of the year. He came in and he made an instant impact. He got a few shots on net. He was laying the lumber to multiple players. Drew Radko Gudas into a fight after another one of his 2 or 3 really big hits this game. Garnett Hathaway was a fucking tank this game. Complete tank. But I will say, again, don't want to go too deep into this, but what I loved about this is just their response, because most teams have trouble coming back from a lengthy road trip in that first game back at home after that. And There wasn't much rust. They just found their game as usual after going down 1-0 and looked absolutely great out of the gates. Offensively, they were consistently putting pucks on the net and 8 power plays. Again, we'll go deeper into this later. But I don't want to spend too deep into the mini rundown right now. Game 2, Toronto. This game kind of felt like a early season Rick Tocchet game. Low event. Vladar played well. Flyers jump out to a 1-0 lead from Konechny. Kind of third period comes along, a little bit of a gaffe on a shorthanded opportunity leads to, of all people, Scott Lawton. FYI, I love Murderface, so I'll never really have any bad blood for him. But of course, it's Scott Lawton scoring to tie the game at 1 on the shorty. Game goes to OT, and what was probably the most exciting overtime of the Flyers season that unfortunately did end the wrong way. But this game just felt like a game they had and they just couldn't finish. And it felt like a third period that you were playing not to lose more than to bury the final nail in the coffin and win. They got their chances, don't get me wrong, but again, the stagnant power play does what it's been doing all year. You had a 5-on-3 opportunity to put the final nail in the coffin for about like 45, 50 seconds. Couldn't do it. And towards the end of the second power play, the Lawton goal happens. The power play continues to be one catastrophic issue, still 31st in the league. They did get 1 goal, I think, against Anaheim, but they had 8 power plays, so I don't know how valid you want to make that. And then the third game against the Lightning. The third game against the Lightning is one of those games you just flush down the toilet, and it leads into something we talked about. I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but the string on Sam Ersson is getting extremely short. And I personally am at the point that it might be time. He might not should be able to see another game personally until something is done. Now, I'm not saying specifically every goal was on him last night because there was some he should have saved, but there was some where the defense just didn't play well in front of him. The team in general didn't. And I think that's a combination of their nervousness with Sam Ersson in net with the fact that Ersson just has no confidence in his game whatsoever right now. I do overall put that game half Ersson, half the way the team played in front of him. But in the big picture of schemes, Sam Ersson has not delivered the last few months. Actually, last 2 years, if we're being honest. He has gone progressively worse. His save percentage is down to .858 this morning. That's not even acceptable for the 80s. Never mind now. Something has to be done. The team laid a wet fart, don't get me wrong, but in big picture, you can't do this anymore. This guy has as many 700 save percentage games as 900 save percentage games. That's unacceptable. And we're at the point that if Danny's going to stand by what he said at the beginning of the year of really pushing to add and take the steps forward, well, accepting the team is still in a rebuild. I'm not expecting to go get rentals, but at least give the current version of the team the best possible chance to make the playoffs or push for the playoffs. They have to do them a favor by getting them a real backup goalie that they feel at least more confident in, whether it's bringing in up Kolosov, trading for someone, or maybe even finding a free agent off the street. Something needs to be done. That's my take on the week. Eric, the floor is yours.
Yeah, man, this was a crazy week. Because look, the Anaheim game, man, you're right. Like, what a game. Like, honestly, what a game. You know what? Cutter opens the scoring, unfortunately. You know, like gives us does a little like
loves
and
it.
Then and then Zegers is like, you know what? Bitch, take that. Two straight goals after that, and then it was like, then the Flyers were off to the races. You know, like really good game. Cutter quiet after that, not another peep from him. I think he hit 1 post after, like, somewhere.
He did. And Vladar barely got to it in time because that thing was going to roll in the net. But he made a good instinct play.
Other than that, really quiet game for him. And look, and it got chippy. And that's and what I loved about that game, and I think I've mentioned this already. Like, the team that we have, we don't have the biggest team. We don't have a team of monsters. But man, we got guys that will not take shit. We have guys that will stand up for each other. And you know what? Look, it really sucks what happened to Drysdale. Like, that was a dirty, dirty play. by Ross Johnson. Like, I'm sorry. Like, look, he didn't get suspended. I understand. I understand. Like, it wasn't a headshot. It wasn't like, but like, it was you don't make that hit. He did that because he was just pissed off because we were throwing some clean hits, like railing guys, and then he just got pissed off. And he's like, you know what? I see an opportunity to hurt somebody. I'm gonna fucking take it. And that's just dirty. Same thing with Chuba when he fucking elbowed Denver Barkey right in the face.
That one was the intent was even worse than that one. Barkey's lucky nothing happened to him. Thank God.
The best. I don't know if you noticed this, and I think it was Hathaway's hit on. I think his name is Moore or something.
It said Gudis off the rail.
Face right before he got hurt. Right before he got it was like it's like Hathaway just railed him. That was beautiful. But look, that was honestly good game, good chippy game. Real old school hockey. It was really fun to watch. Look, the Toronto game, that one for me was a really weird game because at times I thought we pretty much not dominated, but we had most of the momentum in that game. Like we just, we played a very good game. We got our chance. It just seemed that game like the puck was just not bouncing our way. It would just always taking these weird like we have like a great opportunity and the puck will just bounce a weird way, or like just guys last second coming into block shots or just getting in there. There was the one where Couturier was kind of open at the corner of the net, and then I think it was Bobby McMahon. I remember who it was for the Toronto. I thought that could have kind of been interference because he kind of dove at the puck but took out Couturier. So I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, how is that not interference? Like Couturier is there with an opportunity and McMahon takes out his legs, like diving for the puck. Like, I don't know. Anyway, whatever. Just a really weird game. And look, the power play really, really hurt us that game. Look, we had almost 4 minutes straight of power because we had one power play. Then a minute into that power play, they took another fucking penalty, Toronto. So we had a 5-on-3 for almost about a minute full. Then we had another minute of 5-on-4. We could do nothing. We couldn't set up. And like the 5-on-3 looked awful. And then to make matters worse, Mr. Power Kill Scott Lawton goes down the ice. It's like 2 seconds left in the power play and scores. So I was like, oh man. And that was the Scott Lawton revenge game. That was like, you know what? And what was he like 18-1 in the face-off dot? Like destroyed us in the circle. So yeah, that's it. The Toronto game was just a weird one. We could have at least we got a point. I thought we should have got 2. Like we should have got at least a second goal at some point. Like there was so many opportunities.
What'd you think of that Zegras call back on the goal? Like he seemed pretty adamant that puck went in, but you really couldn't find an angle where the puck did cross the line.
Unfortunately,
he saw something we didn't.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, look, unfortunately, like all the angles that I saw, Hildeby was just like all over the floor, like right on the line. So whether it went in or not, you just really couldn't see it. Look, is that just a player that's just selling it? No, I'm telling you it was in, or like it was, I don't know. It was just really, really hard to tell. Like, honestly, if I was a ref and the angles that I saw, like I can't say that's like even close.
I wasn't upset about it either. It was just like he seemed adamant that he saw it. Maybe he thought the glove crossed the line when the puck was in the glove. Yeah. That was the only thing I could think of because
there was one angle I saw that the shot came in and Hildeby was already on the floor and it looked like it went into his chest, like the upper part of his chest, and that wasn't in the net. So I don't know. Like, look, I'm not gonna complain about it because
neither am I. It was whatever.
Whatever. Then the Tampa game. Yeah. Ersson. Look, again, like you said, I'm not putting this all on Ersson. Honestly, look, the first goal was like who's covering him? Like just completely left alone at the corner of the net. Like nobody even close. So whatever. I'm not gonna put that on Ersson. The second goal, okay? And this is exactly the difference between Ersson and Vladar. Vladar will make that save. A save that Vladar will make that will kind of, I don't know, flip a switch in the Flyers. And it's not that I thought the Flyers were playing bad, but you could tell that like Tampa was the superior team. Okay. Like I said, I thought like Tampa was, let's say, at 100, Flyers were at 90. Okay, like I think it was close-ish, but Tampa was controlling play a little more.
Mm-hmm.
That second goal is the backbreaker. Not necessarily the backbreaker, but like the one, like I said, that Vladar makes, and that might flip a switch in the Flyers and be like, listen, we gotta, we gotta go. We gotta play a little harder. We gotta compete a little better. But that's the one. Those are the ones that Ersson lets in. And then after that, the third goal, and I don't remember, but I don't think the third goal was on Ersson. But then the fourth one was the complete backbreaker, where as soon as that fourth one went in, game over. And then it's like, but that's it. It's like, and that's the issue with Ersson. And like, look, I put it out on Twitter like this week. I go, this game against Tampa, this is a big game for Ersson. He has to at least show that he's capable of being a backup. Yeah. And look, like I said, all 7 goals, obviously not on Urs. But at the end of the day, like you need a goalie at a certain point to steal you a game. Even if the team is playing like mediocre or bad in front of you, you need a guy to steal your game every once in a while. And he's not doing this at all. So look, I've always said that there's a trade to be made with Buffalo. Okay. And I started this before. Buffalo right now has 3 goalies. They have Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who's clearly most probably their starter. Like he's their guy. They have this kid that they picked up on waivers that's actually played really well for them in Colton Ellis. And apparently for things that I've read is like they've always been high on this kid. Like I think they wanted to draft him or something I read. And that eventually this year he went on waivers at the beginning of the season and they picked him up. So they have him and he's young. He's like 25 or something. So plus they have Devin Levi in Rochester or anyway, their American League affiliate. They also have Alex Lyon. Look, right now Alex Lyon is injured. Like he got hurt, but like I read up, he's only supposed to be missing maybe 7 to 10 days. So, look, like as I said, there's a trade to be made with Buffalo. Could there be like a big trade coming down the road soon, where maybe we get an Alex Lyon and maybe a Costa Hellenius or something like that? Like a package. Because look, I said last episode, I think the best thing for Kolosov is to stay down in the minus for a full season and have him, if we could bring in some kind of veteran backup, somebody just to tandem or just to like give the team a better chance. Plus, we know Alex Lyon. He's been in the system before. He's showed what he can do in the past 3-4 years as a backup. Like he puts up really good numbers. So that's a name, honestly, that I'd be curious about, and I would not be shocked.
Alex Lyon's interesting. We actually did get a comment on our last episode, so as someone suggested that too, and I think you might be onto something there. A Lyon, they signed into a 2-year deal, I think, so you got a little bit of term with that. I mean, Buffalo is probably looking to make a roster space with now them having 3 goalies, and that's usually not the preferred route. Devin Levi, as you mentioned, is in the minors. So realistically, is he the 4th goalie now in their pecking order? At least maybe 3rd at the moment, but 4th realistically. Maybe you help them get out of a contract that maybe they felt a little premature on, and you can get Alex Lyon for a piece. If you want to throw him some draft compensation, or if you want to put him as part of a bigger deal, I think you might be onto something there. Or I don't know who's available for free agent goalies. I know Reimer just got signed by Ottawa, so it is an AHL tryout. But I'm not going to act like I know who's currently out there for free agency. But you could even go down that route to see if there's someone that could potentially interest you as well. I wouldn't mind seeing Kolosov called up, but I understand your point that why rush him and just let him marinate in the AHL where he's clearly been their starter. He's clearly played pretty good. He's got over a 900 save percentage. I think it's like a 911 this year or something like that, right around that range.
I saw 908 or 90 something like that.
It's up there, whatever the specific number is. It's respectable. But do you really want to risk running him out there and potentially creating a situation a little too early for the guy? I definitely get where you're coming from. However, something needs to be done. If they don't find a trade partner or don't like anyone in free agency, do they eventually go down that route? I definitely would like to probably go with the free agent or trade route. But if push comes to shove, you may have to do this. If you want to be the team that you're saying that you're going to be, that Danny Briere emphasized at the end of last season's press conference, where he said, we want to be a team that starts making the turn on this rebuild, that starts to add and maybe make the next steps. Whether you agree with it or not, you sound like a hypocrite if you're bringing in to talk it. If you're where you are in the standings, yeah, we might not agree with a lot of the decisions Tocchet makes, especially with the way Michkov's been this year, but that's a completely different discussion for another day. But if you're in the position that you're in, you're still third in the division right now. Now, mind you, at the end of the day, there is a scenario where they could be right out of a playoff spot, technically. However, they have games in hand, so I don't think that would realistically last. They still control their own destiny. But point being, if you want this team to continue pushing for a playoff spot, you've got to give them a goalie that they have some level of confidence back there to play with Vladar. Because Ersson isn't it. You know, I like the kid. And obviously I don't blame this whole thing on him, because I feel like he went downhill, as we mentioned a couple episodes ago, the moment Carter Hart got kicked off this team. And the moment he went, Ersson went, because he kind of got rushed into a situation he was not fully prepared for, and he never recovered from it. So, unfortunately, I think this ship has sailed. Some level of divorce needs to be made. He better not be back next year, because if they sign him, that is maybe even a worse decision than what you did with the Dvorak extension, which we'll get into shortly. But yeah,
No, look, you're 100% right. And like, look, if the team, if Danny and Jonesy, whatever, are really serious about, no, this year we want to compete for a playoff spot, and like, look, like you said, they signed Dvorak because like, oh, he's helping, and like he's a piece of it. They think he could be a piece for at least the next couple of years, whatever. If that is your goal and that's what you're saying, then I'm sorry, but like you can't keep throwing Ersson out like that. You're hurting the team. Like, I'm sorry, you're not competitive. They just like, and even they said on the broadcast, well, you know, like they just play different behind Ersson. Well, yeah, because they play. It's like almost like you're playing scared. You're playing like in your mind, you know, you're down by at least one as the game starts. So you're gripping that stick a little tighter. You're maybe making a rough decision because you're like over processing in your head, because you have to account for the possibility that something's gonna go in, or a soft goal is gonna go in. Yeah. So anyway, that's just. It's something that I think definitely has to be addressed, especially after that Tampa game.
All right. Well, with that being said, let's move on to our next topic. We're going to kind of stay on the topic of last week's game with one particular game, and that was the chaotic events that occurred in Anaheim last week. Without a doubt, in my opinion, the most exciting game of the year. And I don't know. I mean, it is clear as day. The Flyers feel the same animosity towards Cutter that we as fans do, or at least to the degree of getting up for that game. They played with heart. They played with resilience. They played physical. They played pissed off. And they played like a team that had something to prove to this, not just him, but that entire team. And you could see the bad blood and animosity growing between these two dudes, these two teams. Between Gudis, the Johnson retaliation, the whole thing with Trouba almost trying to decapitate Denver Barkey. Thankfully, he didn't, and Barkey was okay. It would have been yet another injury to add to the list, which, again, something we're going to go over shortly. Eric, let me start with you. What is your take on the Flyers' suddenly growing rivalry with the Ducks? How that game unfolded, the animosity the two teams have, and would you even say the Anaheim Ducks right now are currently the Philadelphia Flyers' biggest rival?
I think you could kind of say that. It's unfortunate that they're in the West, so you really don't see them that often. But yeah, no, like, yeah, it's a rivalry that all of a sudden it's like it's must-watch television. Like, honestly, like the past, look, it's gone our way mostly. Like
Cutter is yet to beat the Flyers, FYI.
Exactly, you know, and so. Like, yeah, so we're like super excited about it, but like I said previously, like, man, that's some old time hockey. That was a grind of a game, man. Big hits, some dirty plays, mostly on Anaheim's side. Like, I'm not saying we were saints in that game. I'm not saying we're saints, but like, there's a difference between a hard legal hit and then just like out to get like just to catch somebody, because you know, like, you're pissed off because our guys can throw in like good clean hits, and then like you guys are just pissed about it. Like, I'm sorry, like fucking go cry into a hanky and fucking go get a sus. Like, fuck off. Like, you know? So no, it's like, look, it's really cool. It's really fun to see. One thing that I saw that I don't know if you noticed, but I was kind of laughing was I thought Grabenkin had a really good game that game. Like he was a demon on the
I
forecheck.
think I know where this is going. Are you talking about when he burned Gudis for the icing?
Oh no. Oh yeah, that was fucking awesome.
And
But
it
no,
sent Gudis off to a rail. They had to cheap shot Noah Cates.
yeah, that was fucking cool. That was a massive hustle play, and he turns nothing into something. That was a great play by Grabenkin. No, where it was late. I think it was late in the third period or midway through the third, and the game was really getting chippy. And like I said, Grabenkin was on one that game, man. Like he wasn't backing down for anybody. And there was at one point where he was targeting Paling, and like he was going after Paling, and then all of a sudden you just see fucking Tippett just come in and like grab Grabenkin and be like, no. Like,
not this guy. He's the only guy with cool.
Hilarious. I like it's like, oh man, like like Paling, former Flyer.
Only guy on the Ducks I like, Ryan Paling.
Yeah. He's like, no. You could touch anybody on the team, just not Paling.
He's cool with us.
Like he's cool. He
hates the Ducks too. He's a spy.
And hey, just like little quick. He's a free agent at the end of the season.
I would be more than happy to bring him back as 4C.
Paling back as 4C. Paling back as 4C. That'd be fucking awesome.
Get rid of Rodrigo Abels. Bring him back as 4C.
Yeah,
I'm up for it.
I think even though like I think sorry, a little off topic, but even though like the fourth line has been playing better of late, I think a lot of that I think has to do with Grunstrom and Grabenkin. Well, previous to the injuries, because now like the lines are a little shuffled. I think they still need to upgrade off of Abels. Whether it's Tomasino that we just acquired, that maybe he gets a chance, or now I'm blanking on his name. Duert. No, it's the kid that we have in the AHL. That we signed from. Oh man, I'm blanking. But anyway, but yeah, I think we got to give somebody an opportunity to maybe to compete for a 4C spot. But no, back to the Anaheim game. Look, like I said, Russ Johnson didn't get suspended. Fine, I understood. Trouba, I'm surprised Trouba didn't at least get a fine or something. Like that was a straight elbow to the face. Okay, we'll go maybe. Okay, fine, whatever. But no, look, I'm really excited to see was it March? I think that we're in Anaheim.
It's St. Patty's Day. March 7th.
St. Patty's Day. Yeah. Oh man.
Give me an extra reason to drink.
Yeah. So just like final point is also Hathaway. Like, look, since he's been back in the lineup, I think it was like 3 fights, like massive hits. Like I think he realizes maybe like look, he got his first goal against Tampa, like his first goal in like of the season. So, but I think now
the season.
I think he realizes if he wants to at least keep his spot in the lineup once everybody's healthy, or even like, you know what, even raise your trade value. Because if there isn't a spot for you here, maybe the Flyers could trade you to like another, like either contender or somebody that maybe needs like somebody on the fourth line that brings that energy, brings that edge, brings those big hits. So yeah, no, it's pretty good, pretty good.
Pretty good. Okay, I mentioned earlier in the show, I'm going to say it again. The animosity at the Flyers and Ducks right now reminds me of peak 2011-12 rivalry with the Penguins. Do you remember how bad blood those games used to be? Late in the season when it was like 6-3 Flyers and someone for the Pens threw a cheap shit shot on Danny Briere and it caused that big fucking clusterfuck in the center of the ice, and Laviolette and Tony Grinaldo started getting each other's faces on the bench. Craig Berube, of all people, had to hold back Lavi. And they ended up meeting in the first round of the playoffs. And that game 3 of that series was one of the craziest things I've ever seen, with how much hatred and animosity. I know but you know what? I know that these teams only see each other twice a year. And I don't think you can replicate what happened then because of that. But it also can stretch out the length of hatred these teams have for each other, seeing each other so rarely. You're only seeing him again one more time, and that's on St. Patrick's Day, as we mentioned. And it's going to be, I think, at 10 o'clock. I didn't check specifically when that game is, but it'll be a game you want to stay up and watch for. And if the NHL is smart, the next time these two play in Philadelphia, they can make that game nationally televised. This is now twice they missed out on a golden opportunity to let the bad blood of these two teams be shown at a national audience. Because one thing that we haven't talked about yet was Trevor Zegras' first game against the Ducks since he was back. And he fucking stuck it to him. That fucking phone call celebration where he hangs the phone up, how quickly he had some bad blood and animosity for that team too, for how fucking the way he left that organization, how Verbeek treated him, how Cronin treated him, how they just wanted him gone and how they sold him for so little value. This is the best thing that ever happened to Trevor Zegras. He fucking loves being here. And that's something I can't emphasize enough, how you have a young star that embraces being a Philadelphia Flyer. That interview with Hartnell after the game, how does it feel to be here? Fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. That was apt to put it in that quote. A fucking awesome interview. That was the best interview of the year. And, he said the boos were great, but the cheers are even better. And just the way he's embraced it. And you notice he keeps using the term we when describing this team, like he's going to be here for a while. I'm going to be honest with you. I have nothing to back this up on, but I bet you he takes a little bit of a discount to stay here. I don't think he is going to break the bank to stay with the Flyers. I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised when that contract is still a single-digit number to start. It is not going to be 10 plus. He loves it here. He loves the team. He loves the locker room. He loves being with his two best friends, Jamie Drysdale and Cam York. He loves how much his game has exploded since he's come back here. He wants to be here. This guy's going to be pushing 80 points this year the way he's going right now, give or take. I'm telling you right now, I am not going to be surprised if that number starts with an 8 when he signs. And I think it's going to have a lot more to do with the fact that he just wants to do what he can to help this team become better soon. So that needs to be – Zegras was maybe his best game of the year, and he's had a lot of great games. But that one specifically, after Cutter made it 1-0, and this game could have potentially went the wrong direction, he stepped the fuck up and buried 2 awesome one-timers from the right dot. Absolutely smoked 2 right by fucking Dostal. Fantastic rock star type shit came from him. He was awesome. And, that game, the rivalry just in general with all the animosity, you mentioned Grabankin at hustle play he made just in general to beat friggin' Gudis, and Gudis friggin' lost a gasket. And he fucking smacks Noah Cates in the back of the head for whatever reason. Cates had nothing to do with it. And then you see some of the shit that was happening. But obviously, Gudis in general, after Hathaway smoked more, leading to that fight. I don't know how Gudis didn't get an instigator for that, by the way.
Yeah, that was weird.
The same thing Noah Cates did after Bobby Brink got clocked in the center of the ice, and he got the instigator. Mind you, it's not like it matters because the Flyer power play is fucking dog shit. But again, besides the point. And then obviously, you mentioned it, the friggin' Bush League bullshit, yet again with Trouba trying to take headshots at Barkey. I agree. It reminded me of Gunny Malkin going fucking Paul Bunyan and Michael Raffles head a few years back. He missed him, but the principle of the matter itself led to at least Malkin getting a 1-game suspension. If Malkin made contact with Raffles' head there, that should have been 10 because that would have friggin' been borderline assault. But again, way back in the Wayback Machine. What's his name? Trouba made that elbow/forearm to Barkey's head. Thankfully, Barkey wasn't hurt, and he ended up coming out for the next shift. But the principle of the matter should have at least got some level of hearing, whether it's a fine or even a 1-game suspension, whatever. I think he should have got something. The Johnston knee-on-knee shit, I cannot believe how many fans are coming, or people are coming to the defense of this saying, oh, it was accidental. Jamey should have been looking the other way. Dude, watch his knee. He lifts his leg up and deliberately makes a knee-on-knee contact with Drysdale. He may not have made any shot to the head like I originally thought he did when I first saw the play, but you can see the knee lift. That was deliberate. Maybe, I don't know what the hell was going through his head at that moment, but Drysdale then smacks his head off the ice, gets concussed. He's probably going to be gone for at least 2 weeks. We'll go over more in depth of this when we talk about injuries, but how the fuck does he not at least get a couple games for that? I understand he got 5 in a misconduct. So maybe if you want to take 1 game off for that, fine. Yeah, but the sheer fact that Jamey's going to miss at least 2 weeks for this shit, maybe more, because concussions are tricky. Hopefully he's okay. It was good to see Jamey already skating in a non-contact jersey, so that's a positive. So maybe he's back a little sooner than we thought, but I still think it's going to be 2 weeks because concussions are tricky and you don't want to fuck around with them, especially anything to do with the head in general. But it was a play that you don't make because Hathaway makes a clean hit, and the fact that this happens not even 5 seconds later tells you all you need to know about the situation. It was not a fucking situation where, oh, he was unaware. The timing of it and the knee raise tells you everything you need to know. If this hit happened like a minute and a half later, you could at least hear that argument a little bit more. But the fact that it was like 5 seconds after the Hathaway hit tells you all you need to know. He was looking in the direction. He lifted his knee up, and Drysdale paid for his bullshit. I don't know how that wasn't a suspension. But the animosity these two teams have is must-watch television. The league needs to capitalize on this hatred because the league is better when teams and players hate each other. Hatred brings animosity. Animosity brings excitement. Excitement brings viewership. Do it, NHL. Next year, this game needs to be nationally televised. Hell, if you can, move it to on TNT when they play on the 17th. What day is that game on? I don't know the exact. I'm going to do a quick look. To Tuesday. It's boring.
Yeah.
Actually, no, wait a minute. It's not St. Patty's Day. I'm sorry. It's the day after. It's a Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
That can be moved to TNT. Only issue is you're competing with Stars Avalanche, so I don't know if they're going to do that.
Yeah, I think they're gonna prioritize Stars Avalanche.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't really argue with that. That'll probably be sorry.
Yeah.
So I get that. Stars
the two best teams in the league.
Yeah, it's a premier matchup. I get it. If you want to wait till next year, make this a nationally televised game.
Yeah.
The whole world needs to see these two teams go at it. The hatred the Ducks and Flyers have right now is awesome. And honestly, I think you're going to see more of this shit when they travel out to Anaheim at the Honda Center on March 18th. I thought it was 17th. My apologies. Great rivalry. Great bad blood. You say yourself, the Flyers weren't Saints, but the Ducks are retaliating with cheap bullshit. And that team was so fucking dirty. And I can't wait till mind you, the Ducks have now lost 9 in a row. That team's in free fall mode. And fuck you, Cutter. Anything else you want to add before we move on to our next point?
No, I'm ready to talk Devo.
All right. Dvorak extension. 5 years, $5.15 million. It was officially made Monday night, I believe. And if any of you guys saw PAP 96, you're going to see we were not happy about this. Now that we've had a few more days to marinate this news, Eric, let me start with you. What is your take on the Christian Dvorak extension and where the team lands?
Look, with a few days since like the signing, like look on PAP, like I was really not happy like when it was first announced, and like I didn't get it. And to be totally honest with you, like look, with a few more days to reflect on it, I'm still not crazy about it. I'm honest, I'm not. I understand it a little more, but still, again, I'm just not crazy about this deal. And again, like I said, nothing against Dvorak. I honestly think he's a decent player. He's all right. My biggest issue, my biggest concern is we still do not have a top 6 center. Like, and by re-signing Dvorak and for 5 years, that's one of my biggest issues is the term. If you wanted to give him 2 years at $7 million, again, I don't think he would have accepted it because even it came out, I forget who it was that reported for Dvorak, term was more of a priority than AVV, let's say. So for me, again, my biggest issue, we does not address our top 6 center. What this tells me is, one, they don't believe Zegras is a center. Fine, okay. But now you have our top 3 centers. You have our centers being Dvorak, Couturier, Cates, Abels, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
That's not great. That's not good. And look, yes, Dvorak is having probably a career year, and that's great. That's fine. But nothing in his history tells you that he can actually replicate this going forward. And everyone's like, yeah, boy, it's okay. You're gonna drop him down to 3C or whatever, 4C in the future. Okay, but then Cates, what happened? Were we trading Cates? Okay, maybe fine. We still have Couturier for another 5 years. You have, let's say, a Jack Berglund, Luchenko, Rookie Ruhonen, that they're going to be here in 3-4 years. Oh yeah, but then you could trade the contract. Okay, but even at that, my biggest thing also is this offseason. Let's say Danny does make a trade for a center. Let's say he trades for Kostas Alenius. This is the name I'm using the most because honestly, he's the one I think that's most probably the closest to being available. Okay. There's Robert Thomas rumors out there too, but anyway, whatever. Let's just say I still think that it's going to be a young center that's probably either playing in the AHL or it's getting limited minutes and on another team. But my big issue is, again, like what happened with Zegras this year, Tocchet plays him one game at center and then decides he's not a center. We're trying to get out of the rebuild. We're trying to make this team into a competitor and then become a contender. If we're running guys like Devo, like Coots, like Cates down the middle, and we automatically say, oh, you know what, Helenius, you played one game for us. I don't think you're a center. You're going to the wing. Trevor Zegras, you know what? I don't think you're a center. You're going to the wing. Okay, but now we already have issues on the wing because we have too many guys on the wing. And we got guys, and we have guys that are coming on the wing. So we can't keep on moving centers to the wing because then what we're gonna have? You can't play with 12 wingers per game. No, you can't. There's only 8 spots available. So that's why for me. This just creates an unnecessary logjam on the team. Okay, and I understand. Yes, you could use them for one more year. But we need, because we don't think Luchenko and Jack Berglund are ready for next year. That's fine, and I understand that. That's fine. But I would rather take one step back next year to take 2 steps forwards the year after. Okay, why are we that's why this doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. And look, I think the Flyers panicked. Honestly, I think the Flyers panicked because I think that they maybe thought Jack Eichel, McDavid, and I know he plays wing now, but maybe Nietzsche's, someone like that. Oh, one of these guys might hit free agency, and we'll throw the bag at them and hopefully address our center position there. All 3 signed at the beginning of the season. Okay, fine. There's still maybe some 1 or 2 centers available that we could possibly. Then Wenberg signs. Oh shit! Now we're really in it because look, I'm gonna break this down quick. Okay, there's centers available this offseason. You have Nick Schmaltz that somebody's gonna way overpay for. Mm-hmm. That for me, I wouldn't touch that. He's a good player. He's a roughly 60 to 70 point player career wise. He has 40 points in 45 games this year. Good player, but I just don't think he's the guy right now that we want to throw the bag at. No, it's gonna be an overpay. But you have a guy like Charlie Coyle, who right now is in the rumor mills that Columbus is possibly looking to trade. Can we throw $7 million at him for 1 year? That's a possibility. He could take the Dvorak spot for 1 year. Then you have a bunch of you have a bunch of veterans that are playing wing now, like Eric Holla, Marcus Johansson, Bobby McMahon, Jack Roslovic. I'm not thrilled about those names, but these are guys you could throw, like you did with Dvorak, throw a little bit extra money at, and for 1 year, just to stopgap. Until either Danny makes that trade or Luchenko and Jack Berglund or whoever is ready to take that spot. Tying 5 years into Dvorak does not make sense. It does not make sense to me. You want to sign him for 2 years? That's fine. Mm-hmm. But 5? And then it was yeah, but he doesn't have trade protection on year 5 and year 4, it's only 5 teams. I don't care. I don't. he's taking up an unnecessary spot in our lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Tocchet is gonna. I know Tocchet's gonna play him over whatever young center is gonna come in, and we're gonna stunt the development of whatever center should be playing center. But Tocchet doesn't think he's a center, so we're gonna put him to wing. When you have Martone coming, when you have Bump that's possibly coming, when you have Denver Barkey that's showing he belongs. Right now, we're gonna talk about later, but injuries. We have Tyson Forster that's on the shelf. We have TK that's on the shelf. We, like these are guys that are gonna need spots, but yet, like you signed Dvorak. Like it doesn't make sense to me. I'm sorry. It's still I'm a little bit better with it right now. Like I've accepted it, but I still don't like it.
That was a beautiful speech. I would give that an Emmy because you hit the hammer on the nail. Speaking of hitting the hammer on the nail, we have been joined by our other awesome, gracious co-host, Mr. Jamey Baskow. Jamey, how you doing today, brother?
Mahalo, man. You know what? I feel blessed. Sorry to be late. Pancake breakfast ran over at church. We went to church, had a great time.
Pancake.
Yeah, pancake breakfast is great. It's once a month. Brings people together and unites people. And you know what? You get some darn good food. Sausage, pancakes, chocolate chip pancakes. Not as good, man.
Listen, you can't deny those pancake breakfasts. It's okay. That is a more than viable excuse because if it was up to me, I'd eat pancakes right now too. So Eric just hit some awesome points. I'll talk about it a little bit.
It's great.
So Eric just hit on some awesome points that I'm going to talk about a little bit after too. But Jamey, let me hear your thoughts on this. What did you think of the Christian Dvorak extension as a collective whole?
As a collective whole, I don't like the deal, and there's multiple reasons why. Mm-hmm. But I like the player. It's not a bash on the player by any means. Mm-hmm. It's a bash of the term and conditions surrounding the contract. I don't like the conditions because it makes him, in my opinion, it makes him immovable. For instance, right? They signed him a 5-year deal. Okay, cool. So with that, Dvorak should have said, okay, I don't need no trade clauses and stuff like that. If he would have just signed 5 years, am I happy about the term? No. I'm a little more acceptance because there's no conditions wrapped around the deal to make him more. It makes him more attractive to move. Now I feel like he's inhibited to move. Why would he move away from Tocchet? I think that was a Tocchet deal. That's because of Rick Tocchet, in my opinion. Rick Tocchet's here. Him and Tocchet have a good relationship. Cool. Is he working out in Philly? Yes. Is he a great locker room addition? Yes. But you know what? There's other players that can also be great locker room additions as well, for who don't have the conditions wrapped around in their contract. So I would be okay for one of the other. If it was a 2-year or 3-year deal tops with some trade protection, I'm okay with that because the term is lower. Now, you not only offered him term, but you offered him trade protections to which he doesn't have to move. And for people to say, oh, okay, well, he can still move. Yes, that is the case. But does everyone go back to where Sanheim was supposed to be traded to St. Louis, and that deal was negated? It honestly benefited the Flyers for Torrey Krug, given the situation. But no one knew that was going to happen at the time. Everyone was like, oh, man, please, Torrey, come on, Krug. And he said no. Well, Dvorak could do the same thing. There's no guarantee that the player is going to move or willing to move to a trading partner, regardless of what it is. That's a full no trade clause for the first 2 years. He doesn't have to move at all. There is no teams that, now you go to the player and ask him what teams like to be dealt to. You can have a trade formulated. He could say no and strike it down, and he will. Again, Torrey Krug is a perfect example, of such. So, no, he doesn't have to move, and no, he probably wouldn't move him and his family, out of the way. So that's why I don't like the deal. It's not a bash on the player. It's not that he won't live up to expectations because I firmly don't believe he will. And then it alludes back to what, Eric just said. You really think that Rick Tocchet's going to put him as a fourth-line center? You're out of your mind if you think that. That now Jet Luchenko comes, next year. Let's just say hypothetically Jet Luchenko makes the team next year. He's going to be pegged as a fourth-line center. Why? Because Christian Dvorak will be within the top 9. Now, if the Flyers make a big move, and I think they are, I think there is a big move coming. I think it has to do with the center. I really do. Then maybe he goes down the lineup then. But I until it's said, no prospect will play within the top 9. That it's not going to happen. I mean, I just don't. Look, Trevor Zegras played well last night, and he moved him quick from the center role, and I don't know why. I mean, Mitchkov and Zegras worked very well together yesterday. That Mitchkov Zegras Grebekin line was a line that I loved. I was like, man, we were talking about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Got time, and it was like he had 2 shifts, and voila, goodbye. The line broke up. Like, I think going to the fact, I think he was out coached last night, but okay, that there's no faith in a young prospect to take that role. You'd have to go out, like Eric just made very good point to. You'd have to go out and obtain a veteran and hope that they could play to the billing. But no prospect named Jack Berglund or Jet Luchenko will play in the top 9. It's just not happening. You know what I mean? I just don't see what spot they would take. Coots is trusted, rightfully so. I like Coots. Okay, maybe he's not the first or second line center anymore. He's a third or fourth line center, but he's not moving Coots to the fourth line center role. Let's be real here. It's not going to happen. Especially a captain. He's not going down to the fourth line center. So what do they have to do? They're going to have to go out and obtain somebody. And really, the market isn't lucrative. It's not attractive to say, oh, okay. Like, I love Nick Schmaltz. That would be a great addition. But again, I'm not paying 10 or 11 million for Nick Schmaltz to come to Philly. Whereas somebody will pay 9 to 11 million for him. They will overpay, for a 60, 70 point guy. I hope it's not the Flyers, but I've always liked Nick Schmaltz's game. I've always liked him, but I really think that there's a deal that's going to be had, and it's way off the radar. No one, I agree with Jason. I think brought it up. No one will know what it is, and it's going to be a crazy deal. And I hope that it involves the center. But if the Risto rumors are true, I can see it being for a 1A defenseman too.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's where I'm at with the Dvorak deal.
I think both of you gentlemen make some excellent points on this, and I agree with you definitely that I am not a fan of the term. As I've said on the show, I was bullshit on Monday when I brought this up originally. I've now calmed myself a little bit. I'm not going to start throwing chairs across the room, but I'm still not happy with it. 5 years, 5.15 mil. And I try to look at this in multiple different ways. Jamey, you make some excellent points. It blocks the roads for a lot of these guys. And, you already have a few guys running down the middle. Dvorak, Couturier, Cates. But you also have a Luchenko coming. You have a Berglund coming. A few years down the road, Jack Nesbitt's eventually going to come. And I'm just thinking to myself, where is going to be the lineup spot for these guys? And Eric mentioned it too. If this was a 2-year contract, I'd even overpay. 2 years, say $7 million to keep him here. Sure. I'm not a fan of giving him that much money, but I can at least talk myself into it and say, okay, you got to overpay him to stay here a little bit and to take less term where he could potentially cash in again elsewhere down the line. Fine. Even if those 2 years you want to give him trade protection, you can at least talk me into it there and say, okay,
yeah,
they know they're playing.
Yeah.
That pretty much tells me they want to at least commit 1 year to keeping Luchenko down in the AHL to get top line minutes with Lehigh Valley to marinate. Cool. I can get on board with that. I can get on board with getting this guy to, fully develop down in Lehigh Valley before he comes here for like his age 21 or 22 season. Whatever. Awesome. I get it. You're giving him 5 years. Where's the pathway now? Where's the pathway for a guy like him? Where's the pathway for a guy like Jack Berglund, who, mind you, impressed with out in the friggin' World Juniors, out as a captain of Team Sweden, who took gold? I could honestly hear the argument. Jack Berglund is climbed ahead of guys like a Jack Nesbitt right now. And maybe even is starting to push towards a guy like Luchenko. I don't think he's there yet. I'd still put him maybe second. Me personally, I was not thrilled about the Nesbitt pick, and I am getting higher and higher on the Berglund pick. But how do you find an opportunity for guys like this?
Yeah.
The only way I could make, and mind you, Jamey, I agree 100% with what you say. Why the hell are you giving him that type of trade protection? You're giving him 5 years. That should be more than enough for him to say, okay, they want to move me year 3 or 4 of this. I'm not going to handicap them. No, he wants to stay with his favorite coach, to Rick Tocchet, who loves him. Okay, cool. Here's my issue, especially with this. The only way I could make sense of this deal, and I'm trying to find a way to make sense, but the only way I could really do it is if you move a Sean Couturier.
Oh, yeah.
At least you could open up an opportunity for them. But Sean Couturier is going to no movement clause until the last year of his contract when it becomes a modified no trade. Who's going to take him? Who's going to take that contract? That is a move that you look at and say, no one's going to make that move. He's stuck here for another at least 3 years. You know, maybe if Couturier moves down to a 4C role by year 6 of that contract, and you might want to talk him into a divorce. Maybe by then, maybe. But even then, it seems it seems more likely not to happen than to happen. So then they'll look at, are you forced to move a guy like Noah Cates, who, mind you, isn't even an actual center? He got played there because his two-way game and how lackluster the Flyers prospect pool was at center. So are you forced to move a guy like Noah Cates and inevitably keep a guy like Dvorak or Couturier in your top 6 because you don't have the choice? And this is where the mind-numbing part of this. This is, in my opinion, the worst deal that Danny Briere has done so far. But I agree with you, Jamey, that this has Rick Tocchet stapled all over it.
Absolutely.
How much he loves the guy and how much he loves the player. It just made my fucking hair stand up. I feel like a mad scientist trying to talk and make sense of the damn deal. Why did they feel the need to block the road with some of these prospects? It just doesn't make sense to me.
The Canadian deal.
Personally, I would have even, if I'm sure they're not going to, but me and Eric talked about this, I think last week or on PEP. You could have made sense of waiting for the contract to expire and just letting him walk. Mm-hmm. And go, like Eric just mentioned, go after a Charlie Coyle.
Yeah.
Go after a guy like a Nick Schmaltz or something, even if you have to sign him to like a 2-year deal to give him a little extra money. Why do you have to feel the need to commit to 5 years to a Christian Dvorak who has never eclipsed 40 points once? Now, mind you, he's probably going to do that this year as long as he stays healthy. He's going to probably shatter that. He'll probably push 50-plus points this year. But how much of that is playing with a Trevor Zegras? How much of that is playing with a Travis Konechny? How much of that is playing with all the abundance of wingers the Flyers have? You know, we can crap on the fact that they don't have a 1C or 1D, but they're loaded at wing. He's played some time with Michkov, too. He's played some time with Tyson Forster. Who's to say? I mean, that is probably a more likely reason. No disrespect to Dvorak. I like the guy. I think he's a good 3C. But the reason for his uptick in points is playing with all these guys on the wing who have given him that uptick with all that talent.
Yep.
This guy's going to be 30 next season. And I'm not saying he's cooked, but he's on hole 12 or 13 of his career.
Yeah.
If you look at a trajectory for a guy's prime, the prime years are between age 25 to 28. 29, 30, I'm not saying it'll fall off a cliff, but you start seeing the downward trajectory a little bit. Is he going to replicate this? Who's to say, as Eric mentioned, that he's going to be able to replicate this next year or the year after? Yeah, he's playing with a coach that he likes and has familiarity with, but no disrespect to Dvorak, who's to say he's going to be able to do this for 3 out of 5 years? And now you're stuck with him if hypothetically he does fall off, which is a very possible scenario.
Yeah.
So I don't understand the need to that level of commitment. Now we're stuck with him, and now you've got 2 or 3 of your centers locked in for the next half decade. Unless if you can somehow find a taker for the Sean Couturier contract. If you do that, it completely changes my perspective on the Dvorak contract. And I can say I'd put it from a D- to maybe a C+, because then I can say, okay, now you got your bottom 6 Scott Laughton for the next handful of years. I can at least talk myself into it more if you can somehow move the Couturier contract. But the odds of that are slim to none. So I don't get it. I really... Does it mean you don't have faith in the centers that you picked? Is it that you really do you plan on moving some of these prospects? What's going to happen? Jamey, I think you're right. I think something is on the horizon.
Yeah.
Until it's made, we're going to be questioning this.
Clip
Do you guys have anything else to add before we move on to our next topic?
The problem is now you're looking at a Jet Luchenko, which I like Jet Luchenko. I don't write off anybody. He took a bad WJC. With that being said, a lot of teams also noticed that he didn't have the best WJC. It got better as the tournament wore on, like the last couple of games. But I don't think that's enough for a team to say, oh, yes, I love Jet Luchenko, include him in that deal. You know what I mean? That's the problem. It's not like Zeb Byam to where he was attractive and then you could go out and look. He was coveted, obviously. You know what I mean? Look at the deal that, was had, with Minnesota. They moved a heck of a prospect, you know what I mean? So it's not like a team's going to say, yeah, I want to include Jet Luchenko, as well. And that's the problem. Like, I also have is like, okay, now you're forced to make a move here. So why sign Dvorak, making a movable, deal, because he's not gonna want to get moved to try to make room for Jet. I think the Flyers are a bit stuck with Jet Luchenko at the moment. I don't think he's highly coveted by a lot of teams. So yes, although something is on horizon, you'd have to give up Jet Luchenko, who might not be as coveted as he once was. He's not sexy right now. You know what I'm saying? Whereas Jack Berglund is. So now it's no longer Jet Luchenko possibly being moved, but a team might say, okay, Jack Berglund, he's a captain. So there's leadership, value there. A guy who really had I'm just going off the recent stuff. A guy who, had a really good WJC, is popping, is flashing. Maybe now it's no longer Jet Luchenko being moved. Now it's Jack Berglund going to be moved. And I don't know how Flyer fans, that sit with Flyer fans at the moment, because all they saw was success from Jack Berglund and obviously the Swedish team, and a captain at that, so I don't know. Yeah, something's definitely on the horizon, but I don't know, man. I'm like you. It's hard to rally around this deal and say, hurrah, yeah, baby, I see the vision. I don't necessarily see the vision right now. I hope I do with the next deal that comes forth.
Clip that.
Yeah, look, and also quick, like I get and I think that's Jamey, you're right. Also, Luchenko didn't have the greatest World Juniors, so at the same time, I think that also maybe factored into this decision also, because they're well, if we thought maybe he might be ready next year, well, we don't think he might be ready next year. Maybe it's the year he needs maybe let's say 1 year in the AHL, if they're not going to trade him or whatever. But at the same time, I'm look, even Michael Misa, who went second overall, I think last year's draft, he didn't have a good tournament either. Is he a bust? It's you can't. Again, my whole thing is you cannot manage scared. Okay, and again, look, we now no Cates, right? Now I find he's been struggling the last 10 to 15 games, the second half of the season so far. But at the same time, okay, you have him. Why can't he just be your Devo replacement if it's not for just 1 year? Okay. You put him on that top line with Zegras and Konechny, or Zegras and Mishkov, or Zegras and Tippett, whoever. You have a reliable defensive center. Yes, you're taking a bit of a hit in the faceoff dot, but Cates is a better defensive player than Dvorak. Not that Dvorak's bad, but he's better. Okay. And then, like we said, Charlie Coyle, 1 year, $7 million. There's other veterans like a JG Pajot, Adam Henrique. Sign one of these guys to be your stopgap third line center. For a year. Why? Again, why did we have to commit 5 years to Dvorak when there are other options? There are other things you could have done instead of locking yourself in for 5 years. That's what bothers me. That's what kind of scares me a bit, is that this move was either it was a move made out of fear, or B, it was either forcing this deal, maybe, I don't know, maybe it was, again, I'm speculating, I don't have any information on this, but did maybe Tocchet go to Jonesy and be hey, this guy, he's going to be a really good part of the team, even if we use him, on the fourth line in 3 years, it's okay, or in the third line, no, and just kind of convince them to sign this guy to this deal. And if either one of those possibilities is true, I don't like it. It does not bode well. I don't know. I'm sorry.
I agree. But with that being said, let's move on to our next topic. Injuries. So this team battled its share of injuries this week. Jamey Drysdale and Bobby Brink went down in the Anaheim. Travis Konechny went down in the Toronto game. As we talked about, this morning skate is happening, and Bobby Brink is actually in a normal jersey again. And Konechny is too, but Konechny kind of tweaks something in practice, I guess. We'll see what happens there. But collective whole, team also missed Michkov for a game. He's back now as well. I don't know if he's 100%. But with the abundance of injuries, with currently Drysdale, Brink, Forster obviously gone for the season, and Konechny all out, and Michkov potentially not even being at 100%. What do you guys think of the injuries as a collective whole? Eric, let me start with you. Is this going to be something that hampers this team and next man up mentality? What do you expect from the team going forward?
Well, yeah, it has to be next man up mentality. Look, the Drysdale one seems like the most serious. The other two don't seem that bad. They should be coming back in the next few days or week, or like roughly soon. So it's not so bad. But like it really showed, especially last game, and like actually, Jamey, you brought this up before. Like the one thing I didn't like about last night's game, and I forgot to mention, was that like Tocchet at one point was just shuffling the lines like it was nobody's business. Like every shift was a different lineup, and you're like, what the hell's going on? So like hopefully like some guys can come back healthy. Like I think they were on the ice yesterday. Now you said Bobby Brink doesn't have a no contact, so that's great. I just saw actually Jordan Hall just posted that Carl Gunstrom's not at practice. So I hope I hope that's nothing serious. But look, that's it. Like it has to be next man up mentality, and at the same time, like Tocchet has to like just come up with lines and like stick with them, buddy. Like don't fucking stop. Like as soon as there was a bit of momentum, like then he would switch it up again, and you're like, it just kills your momentum. So look, like I said, hope like it's not very serious, a lot of these injuries. So like good, but it's starting to become a little bit concerning, especially that like we've been pretty much healthy a good chunk of the year, other than Tyson Forrester and like York missing a couple games. But hopefully it's not something that lasts, and these guys can get back in the lineup.
It is concerning right now. The team is getting riddled with injuries at quite possibly the worst possible time. You're at the middle of a giant playoff battle. You're currently in a playoff spot. You've been in a playoff spot for probably over a month now. But now you're going to really test the resilience of this team in a really difficult part of the schedule. Like you're in the middle of a 5-game stretch that includes Toronto and 2 against Tampa, who have really owned you more than any teams in the entire NHL have. And then you're at a red-hot Buffalo who's won 13 out of 14, and a Pittsburgh team that has really been surging. So I do worry about where this team is going next. Hopefully they can stay healthy. I've heard from a couple of the Flyers beat writers as we speak, Travis Konechny may have re-aggravated an injury, sustained a lower body injury. So hopefully it's nothing serious. We'll see what happens there. But, Brink looks like he's on his way back. But, Jamey, what do you think? Do you think this team can really stand pat through this wave of injuries they've gotten suddenly?
It's going to be a tall task. I mean, when you look at it, I mean, you're losing TK, who's a very important cog, to the Flyers lineup, right? He's going to be out a week at the least. I expect him to be out at least a week. He's not day-to-day, in my opinion. He was always going to be out a week. When TK said he was hurt, that's not because he's concussed or anything like that. When he sustained what it was classified as an upper body injury. I don't think that was a concussion. I think that was probably more or less maybe his shoulder or something of that nature. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. That's the immediate fear that I grew into. But when TK's out, if you look at his trajectory, he's not just out a game or two. When he's out, he's usually out at least at the very minimum a week. So you got to see this rash of injuries, and the Flyers have been on the benefit of that. Recently, with not sustaining many injuries at all. There's a period of time to where not many Flyers were on the IR and stuff like that. Look, it was just Tyson Forrester, Ryan Ellis. Then they traded Ryan Ellis. Now it's Forrester. You know what I mean? So the Flyers have been very beneficial to being healthy for the majority of the season. Now it is next man up. They knew that this would happen. It's a condensed schedule. That's why I'm going to be honest, Alex. I'm not a fan of the Flyers practicing today. I would have given them the day off. And why? Yeah, they had all Friday. They played played yesterday. But look, it only gets harder here. You know what I mean? And the condensed schedule due to the Olympic break is really going to be a full fold. I would have given them a day off to regroup, reset, day off the ice, get their body right, mentality right. I wouldn't have. I'm not ridiculing Coach Tocchet, but I wouldn't have had practice today. I would have given them the day off to heal and get those little minor bumps and bruises, healed up appropriately. So it's going to be a tall task for the Flyers to withstand. I think they'll free fall here a bit. I think that, playing tomorrow against a red hot Lightning team that has found their niche with their injury, they've been hurt too throughout the course of the season, missing some really key cogs and have stood fast, to it. This is very interesting to see of how the Flyers are going to sustain this. It really brings this is character to the room. You're going to really see who the Flyers are personally. And Alex Bump isn't a call up at the moment. He was scratched last night, for the Phantoms game. Mm-hmm. So, you know what I mean? So it's not like he's a viable option, stuff. So who would you recall? You know what I mean? I guess Philip Tomasino, maybe, recently acquired. Maybe you recall him because he has experience at the NHL level. So it's not like the Flyers could just say, okay, I'll just recall. Yeah, you could go to the safety net, recall Jakob Gaucher. That's why I was mad last night. Due to the recent rash of injuries, Michkov was playing so well and looked energized. It looked like one of his better games that I've seen in a long time. And you just removed him, and from with the pairing with Zegras, and it didn't make no dang sense to me. It looked like John Cooper, who they didn't have the best start, the Tampa Bay Lightning, but Cooper doesn't look rattled at all. It looked like Tocchet was outcoached last night. That shuffling the lines, like you didn't know what line was coming out next. Was it going to be D'Lo, Michkov, and Zegras together? Hathaway, you know what I'm saying? Like, he just looked scattered-brained, looked outcoached, and just he didn't look like a confident Tocchet last night, in my opinion. And I think that played with the Flyers. That was the team last night. They just didn't – when they tied it back at 1, I was like, okay, cool. And then he got rattled again after they went down 2-1. It's not like the Flyers were playing all that bad. I don't understand why they moved. I don't know. So
yeah, it's one of many coaching decisions that we've been questioning Rick Tocchet with all year, especially when it comes to his line pairings and how he just doesn't. That was a perfect opportunity to give Michkov some extra ice time to play him with Zegras and to see what he can do.
Yeah.
And he's just so trigger happy to pull that without giving him a real opportunity to gain some chemistry again. Him, Zegras, and Dvorak played together for a chunk of time earlier in the year, and they flowed well. So yeah. I don't understand why, or even try him, Zegras, and Verbanking, as you mentioned earlier in the show. So
absolutely.
I don't understand it, but hopefully they can withstand these injuries. From what it sounds like in reports right now, Brink looks like he might be good to go tomorrow, so that's a small positive. But Konechny took a puck off the foot, and now he may have gained another injury. So we'll see what's going on there. But with that being said, let's move on to next week's games. Flyers, I believe, have 3 or 4 coming up this week. They have one Monday at home against Tampa to finish off the little full-game homestand before traveling on the road Wednesday at Buffalo. Then Thursday at Pittsburgh. Both of these will be nationally televised games. I'm sorry, they have 4. And then home Saturday against the Rangers for a matinee. 4 big games, big conference games. A lot of these West Coast teams look like they're starting to be pushed into the rearview mirror. It's not like they're completely done with them, but they can have a lot more East and West games coming up. So, Jamey, let me lead off with you. What is your prediction for the week?
I think that they'll lose tomorrow. Mommy's not I think that they'll lose tomorrow to Tampa Bay. I think that they will lose Wednesday to the Buffalo Sabres. Actually, I think that one might go to overtime. Usually the Flyers typically play Buffalo well in Buffalo. So I got them as 1-2-1 this week. I have them beating the Rangers and losing the other game.
To Pittsburgh. Gotcha.
Pittsburgh's just surging right now. They're on like a heater. Same thing with Buffalo Sabres are on a heater. In Tampa Bay, 3 out of the 4 teams are on a heater where the Rangers have been free falling. The loss of Shesterkin doesn't help the Rangers. He's currently on IR.
Yeah, they've also don't have Adam Fox either. I'm going to go 2-2 this week. I'm going to agree with you that they lose to Tampa. I think after that, they're going to surprise some people and play Buffalo well enough to win that game, shockingly enough, despite Buffalo's recent surge. But then coming off of a back-to-back, they lose to a well-rested Penguins team. And then they go out and go belt to ass on the Rangers. So I'll say they lose 4-2 tomorrow. I assume Vladar will get the start. Then Vladar gets the start against the Sabres. They beat them, I'm going to say 4-3.
Mm-hmm.
And they lose to the Penguins. I'm going to say 4-1 because I have no faith in Sam Ersson doing anything resembling goaltending right now. I'm sorry, no disrespect to the kid, but when your save percentage is .858, there's nothing you can say that will give me any resemblance of confidence in you. And then I think they go out and beat the Rangers 5-0. I think the Rangers are in a complete free fall mode, and that will be the game that will flip the switch for the Rangers for them to officially say, yeah, time to sell, time to blow this shit up. We're cooked. Yep. So 2-2 week is my prediction. But Jamey, any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
I just hope the Flyers get healthy. Like you said, I'd like to correct myself with the TK. That was his foot, not his shoulder. Totally forgot. Whereas Brink was upper body, Drysdale was upper body. I got everything confused. So I apologize to all the viewers for that. But let's just hope TK comes back. Because Drysdale, I think, is going to be out a little bit here, although he's skating, which is a great sign. But I think they're going to be pretty cautious with Drysdale due to his injury history anyway. So I think they'll be cautious. Let's hope TK comes back sooner rather than later. I think they'll really need a TK in the lineup here.
I agree. Hopefully this foot injury so actually TK did originally sustain an upper body injury, but then he took a puck off the foot today. So you weren't wrong, but there was another injury sustained during practice today. So we'll see what comes of that. Hopefully it was just precautionary. We'll find out more then. But yeah, that's going to wrap things up. With that being said, thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Flyer Again a Flyer. As always, we appreciate each and every one of your comments, and subscriptions. Leave a comment in the comment section. We've been getting more lately. So if you have any ideas for us to talk about in future episodes, please leave it in the comments section. We'll be more than happy to, look into it and potentially even implement it into the show. And please give us each and every subscription we can. We're at 329 right now. We're 171 from our affiliate 500 sub goal. So each and every sub is appreciated. But again, that's going to do for this episode of Flyer Again a Flyer. Tune in next week as we go over some new topics that happen within the Flyer land. But hopefully we're back on track next week. But as always, have a good week, everyone. Take care. And as always, let's go Flyers.